Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Alter Your Health podcast, your source of information and inspiration to promote your holistic health transformation and the transformation of health for all on our planet and for the planet itself. And I'm Dr. Benjamin Alter, your host.
I'm Dr. Susanna Alter, your co-host, and we're both naturopathic doctors and the co-founders of Alter Health, where we support individuals in reversing disease and reclaiming optimal health through whole food plant-based nutrition and mind-body medicine.
Yeah, so we are excited to bring you an episode that we feel is pretty relevant, pertinent to our times today, but also pertinent to any challenging times. Because let's face it, life is not just some flat line, constant equilibrium, perfect hunky-dory scenario at all times, right? There are ups and downs. There are good times and hard times. There's challenges and there are wins. And we want to support you in really nourishing yourself optimally during all the times and learning and really having ultimately compassion for yourself so that you can make the most self-honoring, self-nourishing decisions with regard to your food and with regard to all other aspects of nourishment during the toughest of times.
Right. And so we are going to tackle this topic from two different perspectives. The first being the real practical perspective. What actual practical tips or tricks do we have for you to keep up your health routine during these challenging times? And also, we're going to be looking at it from a more heart-centered, soul-centered perspective of, where really does our sustainable inspiration come to take care of ourselves during these challenging times.
Yeah, and that last part is obviously really important because we always say time and again, really, we can't rely on willpower because willpower happens when we have willpower, but when we don't have willpower, then we fall off the wagon, feel like crap, and then kind of maybe potentially spiral into something that doesn't look or feel good for ourselves. So having really an understanding of how we can be with ourselves and make healthy, self-honoring decisions in all circumstances, that's really what I see as a good goal to point ourselves towards.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and so currently, if you are listening to this episode in hindsight, maybe after the whole COVID-19 thing has settled down, right now, where we are today in this day in history, we are still in the midst of lots of, shelter in places happening in a lot of states. People are still experiencing the stress of having to stay at home all day, and also just the stress of dealing with all of the current events.
Yeah.
And so we have been hearing from some of our clients and some of our members of the plant-based and stress-free community that it's been harder to stick with their healthy habits. They've been more prone to emotional eating. They've gotten out of their natural routines. And so, I've been hearing from a lot of people that this stress is making it harder to commit to those healthy practices. But what I would challenge everyone to consider is a mindset shift, because really what we have here is a very unique opportunity to actually slow down and focus on health. I mean, right now is the perfect time to focus on health. If you have more time on your hands, if you are home all day, if you have time to cook.
It's interesting how society, kind of, to me at least, my view of what's going on, it seems like a lot of people are not focused on health, but are focused on simply surviving, simply, not dying from a pandemic. But, if we can gain perspective and maybe let go of that fear for a moment, we can allow a fresh thought to come in that might inspire you to actually nourish yourself. And I might add to that, nourish yourself like you've never nourished yourself before. When times get tough, I feel like, we're at a teetering point. We can go one of two ways. We can kind of fall into the ditch, and that's totally okay if we decide, or just get tripped up and end up in a ditch, whatever that metaphor looks like to you. Or we can make a conscious, discerning decision to nourish ourselves on all levels. Of course, we're talking about food and beyond, like you've never nourished yourself before, because as you do so, you cultivate confidence, a good feeling, self assurance, health, of course. And that keeps the buoyancy that allows you to maintain levity during tough times.
Yes. So let's shift gears into talking about some of the practical
Yeah,
steps that you can take in your home, in your kitchen during this time when we're spending more time at home.
totally.
And really these are aimed to kind of simplify things in your head, so that later on in this discussion, when we talk about that natural inspiration, you can later on harness this inspiration to help you apply these practical tips in your
Yeah.
life.
And I think really during all times, for me, I might say that simplicity is really a key to success. And it's so interesting. Maybe, I mean, I don't know how everyone is different. Everyone is unique in how they respond to tough times or challenges. But um, for me, when I am, quote unquote, feeling stressed, feeling tense, feeling overwhelmed, um, I feel like my reflex is to just make things as simple as possible so that I can maybe spend more time worrying, spend more time being anxious, or just spend less time focusing about mundane things. Um, anyways, simplicity is really a valuable place to point ourselves toward in any time, especially maybe during tough times. And when we're talking about simplicity with regard to food, we're talking about really, for me at least, stepping away from recipes, stepping away from cookbooks, stepping away from what you see on the Instagram feed or the Facebook posts, and really just stepping into real, whole, natural food ingredients that you can just eat without any sort of recipe, just like cook up, put on a fork, and then put in your mouth and chew. And, I think that obviously that way of eating is certainly one of the healthiest ways of eating, to kind of cook without recipes and just eat ingredients, just eat plants in their natural form as you buy them from the supermarket, grocery store, farmer's market, or pick from your garden. um, you know and that to me really really deflates any overwhelm or any analysis paralysis of what should I do with this, how should I prepare it. Like, just cook it up and put it in your mouth. And by that, we're talking about, of course, about the staple plant-based foods: whole grains, legumes, potatoes, starchy vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, and of course fruits.
Right. Right. And so, in addition to just sticking with the simply prepared meals, another big tip that I would suggest is to simply just, and this is like, maybe easier said than done for some of you who have family members that eat different ways, but just try to keep the unhealthy food out of your house as best as you can. And so now, people's kind of shopping routines are maybe a little bit different. Maybe you're going to the grocery store less frequently. Maybe you're getting groceries delivered to your house. And when you do go to the grocery store, maybe you notice some of the foods you typically buy aren't really in stock. And really, what we would suggest is that, at least the trend that we've been seeing here and hearing about all around the country is that there's still plenty of fresh produce available. And just because you're hunkering down and not going to the grocery store as often doesn't mean you shouldn't be buying these fresh fruits and vegetables. They'll be able to stay fresh in your fridge for at least a week.
Or you
And
can
so
make a huge pot. You can stock up on the fresh produce, make a huge pot of stew or soup or chili or something like that, and stick it in the freezer and have yourself go to hearty, nutrient dense, home prepared meals.
exactly, you can buy fresh fruit, chop it up, put it into a plastic freezer bag and store it in the freezer for later. So, yeah, just because everyone's going for the canned foods and the rice and the beans, even though we were joking, we're like, now every time we go to the
Yeah.
grocery store, we can't buy the foods that we usually eat, like rice and beans.
Everyone's catching on to the rice and beans thing, and it's true. Like rice and beans are the cheap go-to sustenance that have really saved civilizations around the world over the course of millennia throughout human history. And maybe we're facing another rice and beans response to a pandemic.
Yes.
Which is great. There's plenty of rice and beans, hopefully.
Right.
If you're not hoarding, I don't know.
Right. But so anyway, the point is just, continue to buy lots of fresh produce because that's really what your body, what your immunity needs right now.
And always, right?
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, tough times, they will prevail. Like even after we get through these tough times that we're in the midst of now, we're never immune to some sort of other thing that comes across our life, whether it's another pandemic or whether it's a loss of a loved one, a career shift, a busy business deadline, family dramatic stuff, drama. I don't know. There's always going to be stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So another just couple of tips here, real practical tips. I heard this one from a friend the other day. She is so creative. She has actually gotten her 3 daughters and her husband to make a cooking rotation in their household so that each night one of them is responsible for preparing the fresh meal for everyone. And I really, really love this because there is a collaborative energy. There is, it's not just all on you or all on one person to make sure everyone is fed healthfully in your household. It's becoming this joint effort.
Yeah, I really like that. It reminds me of like a commune, sort of. Like I hear about, like tonight is his night, tonight's that family's night. But yeah, to kind of bring that into one household without, no commune needed.
Right, exactly.
That's cool.
And then my last tip is to, drumroll, join our Whole Food Plant-Based Challenge that's starting on Monday.
Yeah.
This will be a real group supportive environment where everyone will be focused on eating whole plant foods for a whole 9 days.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, this is a wonderful reminder, a wonderful reset to just get back on track with eating more of those nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that we do call this a whole food plant-based challenge. And I think that we did decide to kind of frame it that way is because we are challenging you to try something full on to the best of your ability or to the best of your willingness. And obviously, like we all kind of like to be challenged, I think, right? We all, or at least we like the feeling of overcoming a challenge or persevering through a challenge. So yeah, it just occurred to me that during this challenge, during the coronavirus COVID-19 challenge, you can kind of frame it as that as well. Just kind of you're under a little pressure to perform or to nourish yourself to even higher standards and to have a little bit of lightness, playfulness, just trust that just like our whole food plant-based challenge, and just like any other challenge that will come into your life, you're going to do all right. Like there's no failure.
Yeah, I've actually heard right now, currently we are leading a 10-day spring cleanse with a small group of people, and I've heard from some of them that wow, this is actually, they're really happy they're doing this right now because
Yeah.
it's shifting their thoughts away from all of the fear and all of the panic towards how they can support themselves and staying healthier, because
Yeah.
there is a lot of, okay, for breakfast have this, for lunch have this, for dinner have this, so
Yeah.
they need more of that mental capacity to focus on the cleanse.
Yeah.
And so there's just less, they're spending less time in the panic and more time in
Yeah.
the productive self-care mode.
Yeah, and we are like shifting this conversation
Yes.
into what's like the next topic because it feels like
Yeah,
we're going
I
there.
think we're going there. It's a good time to shift into more of this heart centered approach of really, asking the question where sustainable inspiration comes from when it comes to providing your body with all of the nourishment it needs.
Yeah, well, what was just coming to me as you were talking about the members in the spring cleanse who are really focusing on their own health and nourishment, and their thoughts are no longer as much consumed with what's going on in the outside world. What just occurred to me is this authentic selfishness where we're really just caring for ourselves like deeply. And obviously, selfishness carries a negative connotation. No one wants to be selfish. And I threw in the term authentic selfishness because we are caring for our authentic self, our highest self, not our ego. And really, if we can put our authentic self in the forefront of our awareness and just nourish that authentic self, then we will obviously be able to be at more peace as we navigate tough times, as we navigate any challenge that comes in our way. And if you're like me and probably the rest of humanity that kind of has a hard time with the term selfishness and tends to put other people before you, obviously there's lots of metaphors and analogies and cliches about, filling your cup before you can support others, putting your oxygen mask on before you support others in your life. So really during these times, and I would say during all times, really having authentic selfishness so that you are really deeply nourishing yourself, and maybe like we talked about before, maybe even doing so in kind of like a challenging sort of way. If you could challenge yourself to care for yourself even more than you've ever cared for yourself before, like what would that look like? What would you be doing? Would you be watching the news? Like, is watching the news authentic selfishness? Are you really caring for your highest self when you're consumed in the media multiple hours per day? Or what is there a better use of your time and energy that really fills you up so that you can be your best, healthiest self and show up to the highest capacity that you can in your life?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And one thing we mentioned earlier in the beginning of this episode is that this is such a unique time. I mean, many of us have never experienced anything like this in our lifetime, and it's such a unique opportunity to go inward a little bit, to quiet down and to reconnect with your innate authentic self. And that's what, part of authentic selfishness really is connecting with your essential innate self. And in connecting with your true self, from that place comes not only the peace and the calm that helps us to navigate gracefully in these stressful times, but also comes all of the information, wisdom, and sustainable inspiration that we need to take care of our bodies. So, we could give you even a longer list of practical tips, things that you should do to take care of yourself.
Oh, we try to avoid shitting all over you and ourselves. Yeah.
Because I think that's the big energy that I tend to pick up on from people who are really, striving to achieve certain health goals. They feel like, oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing this and I should be doing this. And then they feel disappointed in themselves when they don't have the willpower, the discipline, the whatever it is to do all of the things, the to-dos that they wanted to do.
I just had a great idea. We should, oh gosh, I just said the word. We could, our next cleanse, we could do a should detox and detox all of the shoulds that we are holding on to in this moment and any other, because, oh boy, we are not immune to shitting all over ourselves. Let's be real here. And we tend to go through life and pick up a bunch of shoulds and see someone doing something and think, oh, I should do that too, and I should do it better than that person, and I should also do that while I'm at it. And then we go to bed at night with this pile of shoulds on our chest and in our head, and think about the energetic and physiologic toll that does take on our bodies and souls, Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and I've been hearing from a lot of people who are used to going to work every day and now they're at home every day. I'm hearing a lot of them say, I just can't slow down. You need to keep doing stuff because I feel like I should keep doing stuff to be productive.
Yeah, and we often talk about when we're on like vacation, and we go on quote unquote vacation, and usually it tends to take a day or two, or more like 3 or 4 days, to actually feel in that vacation mode where all of the shoulds kind of dissolve. And I'm definitely feeling, I wouldn't say I'm feeling vacation mode in this COVID crisis.
We're working just as much as we usually
do. We're working just as much as we usually do, absolutely.
But I know a lot of people aren't.
But I know a lot of people aren't, and things are different. And there is more fluidity, maybe a little bit more fluidity in our day-to-day lives. And where there's fluidity for me, I tend to fill space with shoulds. And I feel like I've noticed how I'm doing less of that as I'm becoming more comfortable with the nourishment that comes without shitting on myself.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the real big take-home point is that, this kind of the easy and effortlessness, the ease and effortlessness that comes with taking care of yourself. Wait, I don't even know what I'm saying.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
What I want to say is that so many people, I feel like, they want to get to that place where healthy eating is just so easy and effortless, right? And they think that if they just do it and do it and do it and practice just willpower and practice discipline, that they're going to get there. But really, from that energy of forcing, that's not going to get you there, because that willpower,
it's should energy.
Yeah, it's coming from an insecure place inside. And we want your self-care to come from an authentic place inside.
Authentic selfishness.
Yes.
Not small selfishness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the only way to tap into that authentic inspiration to take care of yourself is to reconnect with yourself and quiet down the mind. And to
that, I'll just clarify, you're never disconnected from yourself.
Right.
So to be present so that you can experience the connection that's always there.
Yeah. Because at our core, we always innately are moving towards health.
1000%. Well, what other things, can we wrap this up?
Yeah, we can wrap this up.
We're going to wrap up this conversation on the Alter Your Health podcast, but we're so glad that you tuned in. And if you haven't done so already, we definitely encourage you to register for the upcoming Whole Food Plant-Based Challenge, which is just around the corner, starting next Monday, April 6th. And you can find the link to register at alter.health/WFPB-challenge. And come on into the plant-based and stress-free Facebook group where that challenge will be happening. And continue to nourish yourself. Continue to love yourself. Continue to detox the shoulds from your consciousness, from your life naturally. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time on the Alter Your Health podcast or wherever else we might find you.
Bye for now.